Hello, everyone, and welcome to United Way. Live United. I'm Terry Westerfield, and joining me today, I have friends in from the Combined Federal Campaign. I want to welcome to the program Linda Steinhauser, who is the director of the Combined Federal Campaign. Hi, Linda.
Hi, Terry. It's nice to be here.
I am glad you're here. Also joining us today, a friend and colleague, Eleanor Simmons, who is the CFC coordinator. Hi, Eleanor.
Hey.
Along today, Senior Project Manager Duran, am I saying that correct? Duran Elzy with the U.S. Army Corps of Engineers. Hello, welcome.
Thank you. Thanks for having us.
And also, my favorite Marine, First Lieutenant Lindsay Thornton, Marine Forces Reserve. Hello, how are you today, Lindsay?
Doing well, Terry. Thank you.
I'm glad you're here. And Mariella Walkup, who is an Associate Resource Development Expert with United Way for Southeast Louisiana. How are you, Mariella?
Great, thank you.
Well, for those of you who are tuning in today, I want to let you know that the Combined Federal Campaign is the philanthropic arm for our federal employees. The CFC is the only authorized solicitation of federal employees in their workplace on the behalf of approved charitable organizations. The CFC is run by federal volunteers across the nation and overseas, and it is the largest employee campaign in the world. And that's just amazing because we think of all the thousands of employees, those who might be serving our country in the armed services, such as you, Lieutenant, or others like you, Durant, who are just make up a huge, huge volume of our workforce. Now, how did you come to get involved with CFC?
Well, they were looking for a loan executive, and each agency loans out individuals that help manage the program. And I just happened to walk into the office at the time they were reading the email, and they were like, wait a minute, you might be a good fit for that. But it's certainly been a good opportunity to learn about a lot of the local efforts that are going on in the community. So.
And how does that work? And because when we hear about here and overseas and locally, and I don't know, Linda, if maybe that's something you want to tackle, or Eleanor, but when you talk about the Combined Federal Campaign and something of its size, is this something that is going on then across Louisiana?
Actually, it's going across the nation. We have over 200 combined federal campaigns, local campaigns, and since its inception in 1961 by President Kennedy, we've raised over $7 billion through local federal employees, and they are helping agencies, charitable agencies here locally, nationally, and internationally.
And that is amazing, $7 billion. And then the local campaign, which, whether it's the lieutenant and others who are involved in, this is money that can stay here, but you can also designate it to other places, correct?
Correct. We raise anywhere from 1.2 million to 1.4 million, and generally we have about 60% of that stay here locally for local charities that help our community.
Now, Lieutenant, I'm going to ask you this question because being in the armed services, how do you decide when you move into a place? Do you say, well, I want to support some of those charities that are here because this is where I'm living at the moment? Is that something that piques your interest? How do you choose?
Well, absolutely. Every time I PCS or move to a different duty station, I look for ways to plug into the community because being in the military is all about service, and donating to CFC is service to your community as well. So I absolutely try to contribute to local organizations, but there are also some national organizations that I think are really important to me.
And well, let's talk a little bit about those locally and nationally.
Sure. One of the organizations that I personally donated to helps provide legal assistance to New Orleans residents that do not have the means to pay for it themselves. And internationally, I like to donate to disaster relief organizations. I think that's particularly important given the recent events in the Philippines.
I was going to say that's what United Way has, our own rebuilding and disaster fund worldwide, and then you can donate locally through our United Way to go there because one disaster after another. You hear about the Philippines, and now we've just had the tornadoes sweep through the Midwest again, and it seems like somebody is always going to need the help of someone else. And even though we may be all secure right now in where we live and we have a roof over our heads and, thank heavens, food on our table, any day that can change. And I think that people need to realize when you do get involved in the combined federal campaign or United Way or any of the different charitable organizations out there, you're going to help that person, that whether they live down the street, across the lake, down the bayou, whether it's overseas, because together we all work together to make this a better area to live in. And Linda or Eleanor, please, I want you to explain the relationship, too, between the combined federal campaign and United Way, because we work together, but we're also very separate identities.
Well, United Way is the contractor for running the combined federal campaign. So we're responsible for dispersing the funds, for collecting the funds, for notifying the organizations that want to apply to be in the CFC brochure that federal employees look at and are able to donate to using that brochure. So we handle all of the logistics, the mechanics. We solicit for the wonderful loan executives that we have here and coordinators. So we handle all of that. And in addition, we also are one, just like of the 2,700 charities that can be selected by a federal employee. So we're one of those, but we are required not to have ourselves to promote ourselves above other organizations. Our role is to be one of many, as well as to be that contractor to make sure that basically all boats are lifted by this
kind
campaign.
Of facilitator of sorts. Yeah.
Exactly.
Well, you just mentioned that the 2,700 other charities, and you mentioned the brochure. I have seen this. It is mammoth, absolutely mammoth. Now, is this something that's still being printed, or as we go more and more where computers and electronic devices we live with day in and day out, are we going more online? How is that working out?
We have both. It is printed. It's on our website, which is www.cfcgno.org. And also through our website, you can click on Pledge Online, and you can get to do an online pledge where you can do a search for your charity of choice. So we have you can look at a PDF, you can look at a hard copy, you can do a search. So any way you want, it's the donor. We have it for you to put out your money that way.
Well, the lieutenant mentioned a couple that she's very fond of and supports, but how are these charities selected? I mean, I'm sure there has to be a vetting process, a screening process, to be sure that these are the kinds of charities that do what they say they're going to do and be good stewards of donor dollars.
Well, part of that process is that we get federal employees to come in and to review the documentation on all of the organizations that are going to be part of the book. And there's a checklist that the federal government provides and criteria that they provide that they have to meet in order to get into the book. And after that, there's an organization that sort of oversees the CFC, which is the LFCC, which stands for Local Federal Coordinating Committee. And that committee has someone who then comes in and also does the final stamp of approval and check. So it goes through multiple levels, and then it goes into the final book, which becomes the final PDF, which becomes the final search engine.
But that's important because donors need to know that this is going to, as we said, that whether it's CFC or United Way, acting as the contractor, we, again, are going to be good stewards of those donor dollars to make sure they get to where they've been directed. And I'm always thinking about people and how they get involved in the CFC. Duran, you kind of told the story about that, but interesting. The U.S. Army Corps of Engineers, are you from here locally? Did you come here? How did you know that you always wanted to get involved and work for the federal government?
Well, actually, I am from the area. I'm from the North Shore. I graduated at Slidell High and went to UNO. I did not originally want to work for the Corps of Engineers. I came to the Corps as a part of an assignment They were looking for students. I have an engineering background, so I started working there, and my goal was to go work for the FBI. And after working with the Corps and seeing some of the work that they were doing and some of the challenges there, opportunity was provided once I graduated to stay here. So it's been a rewarding experience to kind of work and have an impact on a community that you grew up in and impacting folks that you've been around. So.
I was going to say, and especially since, well, we don't have to talk about some of the problems that have come about, but I see the big smile on your face, and it must be pretty gratifying to know that you're doing something that's important in keeping us safe.
Correct. Yeah, it is. It's a very rewarding job, and I mean, even some of the following Katrina, and I've gone and worked disasters in other areas in Florida from the 2004 hurricanes. But to come back and to serve your own community following Katrina and being able to help folks get blue roofs and direct them to ice and water, that's a very rewarding job.
And Lieutenant, I have to ask you now, where are you from? And you talked about you've been to different places, so I imagine this may not be originally home, but perhaps you call it home now for a while?
Yeah, it's a temporary home. I'm originally from Atlanta, Georgia. I joined the Marine Corps right out of college. It was kind of between the Peace Corps and the Marine Corps. I knew I wanted to help people. I wanted to have some kind of adventure, and the Marine Corps has certainly been an adventure. I've been to 6 or 7 different states as a duty station, and I've been to Afghanistan, and that was definitely an eye-opening experience.
Well, thank you for your service there, both of you, because you're both serving our country well. And when you, again, I think about all that you do, and this is an opportunity, as you said, you feel you're in service to your country in more than one way. Do you encourage other federal employees to get involved and, if not volunteering, to at least perhaps donate to CFC?
Yeah, I tell you, when I started this assignment, first I didn't really know what a loan executive was. So once we've gotten through the training to kind of figure out what our process and what our role was in the CFC campaign, we had an opportunity to go around and visit a lot of the local charities. And, I would donate every year to CFC just to some particular cause. But actually getting out there and seeing the work that a lot of these agencies or nonprofits are doing in the area is very interesting. The one story I share because every CFC does a kickoff, and we all share a story. And one of the stories I share with them is, we go to Cafe Reconcile. And it happens to occur just a couple days after the 18-month-old was shot in the street. And the parents were products of Cafe Reconcile. And instead of, I guess, the father going out there looking for retaliation, Cafe Reconcile had taken the family in, not just the mother and father, the relatives as well. And they were all in there, and they were providing them the support that they need, helping to make arrangements for the 18-month-old. So instead of hearing maybe a couple of days later another retaliation story, you've got a network and a support network for the locals. So that's something that really jumped out to me. I give, but my philanthropic conscience is not really awakened, but it has been awakened by this experience.
Oh, sure. When you see something like that, it touches you. It's something you're going to remember forever.
Yes, definitely.
And, Lieutenant, I have to ask you, and especially not only with the different places you've been in our country, but being in Afghanistan, do you see charitable contributions at work there as well? Oh,
absolutely. We are always getting care packages from organizations like the USO, but also just from churches and communities that were willing to take the time and effort to collect things and send them overseas, and that support really goes a long way for service members that are serving in country.
And I've noticed many times that when we have had projects, some of the first volunteers we get are from the federal government, whether being am I saying this correctly, Duran, in the private sector of the government versus civilian sector versus those such as you, Lieutenant, who are in direct service. And that's interesting to me, and I wonder if it's part of that kind of calling, that sense of duty that you both have.
I think so. Because working as a part of the federal government, they stress service. They stress that you're here serving. You're a public servant. So we're here serving the community, and I think that translates over into the private lives or the individual lives of each worker.
Well, I know that you represent just 2 of the many branches of federal employees. I think locally in Eleanor or please, Linda, we have others. Sometimes people forget postal workers. Many. Can you talk about some of the others? There are just so many that you see folks every day. You just tend to kind of go along in your business and forget what a vital role they are, and they are part of the federal government.
We have over 20 to 22,000 federal employees here locally, and they constitute groups from the military, such as the Coast Guard and the Army and the Marines, and we even have some Air Force Reserve bases. We also have the Postal, which are doing a really fabulous job, and they're not here today because they are at their kickoffs and are out raising money. And then we have civilian groups, which could be Social Security, IRS, the FBI, DEA. There's so many organizations down here that help our community naturally, and then they're going above and beyond and donating their not only their money but their time also in projects here in our community to rebuild homes and help the ARC out sorting beads and help out second harvesters with their sorting their food. So they're out there every day helping us, and I am so proud to be associated with this organization.
Well, I have to tell you that it's interesting to come into work every day, and I see the good folks like you, Lieutenant, and Duran, and some of the others. And there's just this kind of bubbling up of excitement. You're all there on the phone, you're working, you're getting it done, and it is. Talk about teamwork. It does. It kind of reinvigorates you. And I think it's important that people know just how many are involved in this. And for those who perhaps have not been contacted yet, who are within the system that could give to the Combined Federal Campaign, how long will this particular fundraising effort last?
This campaign ends on January 15th, and we will be accepting donations from federal employees up until that point.
Now, how does one donate? Do you contact all of them? Do they contact you? Is it a little bit like United Way in that here we are, the loan executives, the Lieutenant Duran, that you're going out to these different federal groups?
We're going out to them, and we reach out. We have a good database, but we do have agencies that move in we don't know about, and we luckily we'll run into them somehow or another, or the local committee that coordinates us is the Federal Executive Board, and it's made up of postal heads and military commanders and local agency directors, civilian agency directors, and they also help us and support the campaign and bring in new members.
Well, is there an overall chair each year?
Yes, there is, and due to scheduling, we couldn't have him, but this year Mark Bologna is our CFC chair, and he's the director over the regional VA office.
Oh, wow.
And he's been very supportive and helped our campaign greatly this year, and we're very lucky to have him.
And do you have any theme? Because I know sometimes we like to come up with themes in charitable work. Is there something that you've got going on this year?
The CFC theme is I Make It Possible.
Oh, how appropriate. Yes.
Mm-hmm. And that's definitely what the federal employees are doing, making it possible for charitable organizations to continue to contribute and do the great work that they do to help support our community.
You know, that I keep thinking back to not too long ago, and unfortunately, some of our federal employees were furloughed. Does that hurt, then, the campaign? How do you get to extend the fundraising efforts? Does it make you kind of kick into high gear? And I don't know, I'm kind of looking at your face. I don't want to put you on the spot, but how does that work in, then?
Well, it certainly has been a challenge for federal employees, on the heels of not getting pay increases for the past 4 years, sequestration, which reduced some employees' salaries by upwards of 20%, and then on the heels of the government shutdown with furloughs, the federal workforce has been impacted. But in spite of the impacts from sequestration and furloughs, I've seen a trend that federal employees are still giving, they're still contributing, they're still making an investment in their community. And what we try to share when we go out to them is the charity listing that you talk about with over the 2,700 charities. At some point, most federal workers have given or invested in those charities. So we remind them that, hey, that charity listing's out there, but it's also a tool for you, tool for your coworkers if you may find yourself in a moment where you may need some assistance. So I think that's getting folks to relate to it, and that's kind of motivated some folks to give. We've also have been successful with getting some interaction with some of the some folks within the community to kind of make videos and promo spots to kind of help promote the work that the CFC is doing and to kind of show, hey, here's where your money's going, here's how it directly impacts the community.
And that's what people want to see. They want to hear. They want to know.
Correct.
And I tell you what, it's very heartwarming for you to say that. It really inspires us with the hope that here you are, even with the own travails that you've had, and yet you're seeing people continue to give, maybe some even a little bit more, and because they do have that realization now that, oh, wow, it could happen to me. It did happen to me.
Right.
I don't know. And I have to put you on the spot, too, just a little bit, Lieutenant. You were talking about some of the care packages or USO or things like that. But do you have a story you could share about that's really inspired you by seeing what charitable giving can do to help people?
Ooh, that is putting me on the spot. Well, the one that comes to mind, I just have to go back to the care packages when I was overseas. We're eating packaged food over there sometimes and, out there in the middle of the desert. And it really helps to have just that package of Easy Mac or, have that Snickers bar that, you find in a box from, a community or an organization. It really feels like you're at home again. So that's just my personal experience.
No, but it is. It brought a little bit of home out, as you said, out to the middle of the desert.
Absolutely.
Where you're seeing action. So any kind of comfort like that, and again, I think that's absolutely marvelous. But ladies and gentlemen, tell me, with this another about just a little over a month, 6 weeks or so, January 15th for that campaign to onward and upward, what are some of the things that we still have in store or that you want to make a call to action to others out there? What can they do who are federal employees if they have not been contacted or if they want to have somebody come talk to them or if they just want to learn more?
They can call us at our office. Mariella, myself, or Eleanor are always there ready to help, and that number is 504-827-6819. They can reach us through our website, which is www.cfcgno.org. And Mariella, you want to tell them about our Facebook page?
Yes, we have a Facebook page and for CFC GNO, and on there you can see a list of all the local charities that we work with. You can see pictures and updates and events that they are working on and doing, and they send those to us. We put them on the Facebook page. You can also see pictures of the workplace campaigns, the workplace CFC campaigns, and see how they're running their campaigns, the events that they do, the ways that they raise money.
Which could give others some ideas. So which is kind of nice. I know that to me, anytime you make a donation to CFC or United Way or any of our local charities to help others, you're a winner. But I know in the past there have also been some kind of little rivalries and almost contests. Is that still going on, Linda or Eleanor?
Oh, I think Duran is throwing out the
gauntlet.
The gauntlet.
Yes.
Okay. For years, the National Finance Center has raised close to $200,000 and have been our number one organization, and Duran feels this year that the Corps of Engineers is really going to beat them.
Oh.
They plan to knock them off the heap.
Oh, so it has been thrown down. It's not just the gauntlet. I mean, I'm envisioning some kind of giant rope and people on this end and people on that, and let's pull them across the bayou. And no, but I.
Well, I think it is. You got to make it fun. You got to make it interesting, and we found ways to do that. Even with some of the drawing, and that's another way for businesses to get involved.
Well, wait a minute. Stop drawings. Tell me about the drawings. What are these?
Well, the agencies can choose to do a drawing, but CFC also does a drawing for folks that attend the event or people that contribute. And the drawing, we're drawing for a 32-inch TV once a week.
Wow.
And the grand prize drawing is for an iPad mini, and there's several other prizes that we'll also be drawing for.
That's fabulous. Well, who we've got to give a shout out then. Who are the vendors who are stepping up to help with this?
Well, the Beau Rivage has donated a hotel overnight, 2-night overnight hotel stays.
See you at the Beau.
See you at the Beau. And there'll be 3 iPad minis being given out, 1 civilian, 1 postal, and 1 for the military. There'll also be some gift cards to restaurants, po' boy shops, and Walmart, Target, groceries. Yeah. So we have a range of different prizes that
And that's
are gonna
great. These
be
vendors
given out.
kind of step up then, and they're helping because they know the importance of what you're doing. And as you said, it makes it more fun, doesn't it?
Yes, it certainly does. And even, I know this year we were fortunate to have the Lance Moore Foundation and Darren Sharper's Foundation to make a video to kind of promote teamwork. And that's really what the CFC is all about. The federal team stepping up and saying, hey, we want to make an impact to the community.
That's who you remind me of, Darren Sharper.
My wife would be happy to hear that.
I kept looking at him. Wow, who does he remind me of? Must be that incredible smile and, dare I say, dimples. But anyway, no, we're just teasing here. But it's great to get that camaraderie of people involved in your community. You get to meet other fellow federal employees. It's a great time to really just feel good about what you're doing for your community. And whether you grew up here, like you said, on the North Shore, or this is home for now, who knows? Lieutenant, you may come back someday and stay for a long period of time.
Oh, maybe. We'll see about that.
Well, we certainly prefer it here, you here, than overseas. So we're glad to have you aboard.
I can't complain about the weather.
No. Well, we just have to ask, have you ever been to a Mardi Gras yet?
I have. The Marine Corps actually hooks us up with some really great balcony seats right on one of the parade routes. So it's a blast. They treat us well in the city.
And you've learned to adapt to, some people think we have some pretty good food down here.
You know, I'm not a seafood fan, but I tell you what, everything else is pretty good. Beignets especially.
Oh, and why is it always the thin women can eat the beignets? Really? Well, folks, we've just got a couple minutes left, but if I could go around the room to each one of you and say if there's something you like listeners to take home today to remember or why they should give or care about the CFC, I want to do it this way. Doreen, I want to start with you.
Well, I'll just say that, one, for CFC, everybody can do something, not just the federal workforce. As you said, we're reaching out to local businesses, to small businesses. So if there's a business out there and they're willing to donate something to help promote the campaign, that'd be great. The other thing I will say is that we all have our moment where we will need some assistance. Following Katrina, some of us even had money in the bank, but you had nowhere to go buy food. So at some point, we're going to be happy to see that Red Cross truck coming around with that meal on it, while you're rebuilding your home. So we all need help at some point. And
Lieutenant?
Yeah, I think a lot of us are doers, especially military. We want to get out and do things to help people, but we don't always have the time or the energy after a long work day and various responsibilities that we have. So being able to invest in different causes through the CFC is really helpful and a great way to do it. So you can put the money in the hands of the people that are actually doing the work.
Well said. Eleanor?
Well, CFC is just a great opportunity for federal employees to give, and it's a great opportunity to recognize the kind of value that federal employees bring to the community, and as well as the local businesses that contribute by offering these incentives. So I don't want to forget to shout out to our local tourists spots, which would be Audubon Institute, Gray Line Tours. Those folks have also generously contributed incentives to the CFC.
Linda.
This is actually such a wonderful program for everyone involved. Not only at United Way we get to manage the campaign, but we get to go out and visit all these charitable agencies and encourage them and get them into the program. And a lot of the smaller agencies that would not make it have only survived because of the combined federal campaign. And the combined federal campaign ensures that the donors are donating to a worthy charitable cause. So it's a win-win for everybody involved.
Mariella, maybe you can give us the Facebook page one last time.
Yes, please like and share and check on our Facebook page as often as you can. It is CFC GNO, CFC Combined Federal Campaign for the Greater New Orleans Area. Thank you.
And I want to thank all of you. Linda Steinhauser, the director of the Combined Federal Campaign for the Greater New Orleans area. Eleanor Simmons, CFC coordinator. Doreen Elsie, who is with the U.S. Army Corps of Engineers, New Orleans District, a senior project manager. Also, First Lieutenant Lindsay Thorntonson with Marine Forces Reserve. And Mariella Walkup, who is an associate in the Resource Development Department at United Way of Southeast Louisiana. And for United Way, I'm Terry Westerfield. And I hope you'll all join me now in saying, Live United.